Rusty OneNote that crashes every 2 seconds,
Of course.
but it makes our life easy. So here we go. Got a full battery. Let's pull that.
Is it only the 4 of us?
Huh?
Is it only 4 of us?
I guess. We make it happen. People want to wake up. I'm here for those who want to do better for themselves.
1 second, my stepmom's calling me.
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Hello?
Here we go.
I just,
Put yourself on mute, child. Nobody want to hear you.
I got that. So anyway, moving on. Factoring. I'll do one, and then y'all can, since there's only 4 of us, we can get through this pretty quick. So I'll do 11. Just random numbers. I like switching it up since we keep doing the same thing. So there's 11. I'm going to do it off to the side. So I have x squared minus 11x plus 18. Here's the thing. You got to know what they're asking for. Factor each trinomial. All they want is factoring. So therefore, they want 2 binomials in parentheses. Okay? So here we go. How do I factor? Well, first thing I got to do is say, what is A? A is equal to 1. It's not equal to the variables. We're only talking about the coefficients. All right? B is equal to what? Negative 11. C is equal to what? 18. How do I factor a trinomial when A is 1? So we absolute value of A times absolute value of C. So that is 1 times 18. And that will get me 18. After that, I do a factor list. Not the factor tree, but a factor list. So always, always, always start with 1. 1 times what? 18. 2. 2 times what? 9. Will 3 go into it? Yes. 6 times. 4? No. 5? No. And we're right back to 6. Here's the part that I have to emphasize. I got to make sure that you understand this. In order for us to know the signs of the small factor and the big factor, okay? That's small factors. These are the big factors, okay? Small, big. You have to know something about C and B. When C, and this is a graphic organizer that you literally, for me, I memorized it and it made my life easy, all right? So we got the little tic-tac-toe right there. We know that our answers, we can predict what our answers are gonna look like, okay? So with that being said, I know I'm gonna multiply 2 binomials every single time. So I get this. Now, if B is positive, now think about it. If C is positive and B is positive, I can only multiply, remember, this is the multiply side, and this is the add or subtract side, okay? If I multiply 2 numbers together, how can I make it positive? Well, I can have a plus and a plus, okay? How else can I do that? If I want to have a positive number, I can multiply 2 negatives. A negative times a negative will give me a positive. All right. But if I add a positive and positive, I will get a positive. If I add a negative and a negative, I will get a negative. So therefore, B can be negative too when C is what? Positive. Now, what if C is negative? The only way I can multiply 2 numbers together to get a negative number, one of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative, okay? Now, that's where this is key. If B is positive, then the bigger number, this column, has to be positive. And we already said a negative times a positive will get me this negative. But a negative plus a positive, and the positive number is bigger, will get me a positive number when I add them. Now, what if C is negative, but B is negative also? then the negative number has to be bigger. And the smaller number has to be positive, because a positive times a negative gives me my negative. But a positive plus a negative, and the negative number is bigger, will give me a negative number. So let's look over here. C is positive, B is negative. C is positive, B is negative. So I automatically know I'm gonna have two negative numbers. So I make negative, 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 negative. Put equal signs. Uh-oh, crash them out. Here we go. Right back at it. All right, so we got negative, 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 negative. Okay, equals. And we want that to equal to B. And B is equal to what? Negative 11. So negative 1, negative 18, negative 19, negative 2, negative 9, negative 11, negative 3, negative 6, negative 9. Now, naturally, if you already know what it is, you can go right to it. I have no issues. You don't have to write all of this out. But if you already know what the factors will be that will add up to B and multiply to get to C, then just do it. Don't waste your time. Valesky's here. How did that happen? I'm looking because I always have to make sure that pause reporting stop disabled. There we go. Got it. All right. Now y'all can't write on it. So here we go. So it was negative 2 and negative 9, and that was negative 11. Therefore, I can write my answer in factored form. This is factored form. Okay. So if this is factored form, I'm able to say X is the first term. And then all I have to do is plug in the two terms I say will add up to B. So I get negative 2, negative 9. My answer is right there. That was a whole lot of explanation because I want to make sure you know how to get to these numbers, but it really doesn't take that long. Okay. All right. So here we go. First one up, Aaliyah. Aaliyah, you there?
Yeah, I gotta disconnect this Bluetooth real quick.
All right. Trying to figure out how can somebody wrote on the screen. Does anybody know what that was? I can't tell. Annotate, can I clear it? Yay, I did it. All right, there we go.
I didn't know you could write on the screen.
Nah, I don't allow that to happen, but sometimes it glitches and then it allows y'all, but whatever. I use it when I tutor people. That way they can write on the screen, I can write on the screen and go from there. But I had to stop all that because people were drawing nasty pictures on our screens. But here we go. Let's pick one. You pick any number you want. I don't care. We'll do it. Leah, 15? Okay, there you go. So we got 2 and a negative 3. So x squared plus 2x minus 3. All right, work me through it.
I can't see the problem.
Is lagging or I have it on the screen?
I could see the number 3, but not the whole equation.
That's different. What do you see on your screen right now?
I see positive 2x minus 3.
There's an x squared out in front of it. You don't see that?
Mm-mm.
Do you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll rewrite it, see what happens. I don't know what that's about. So there's x squared plus 2x minus 3. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what do we do?
Just factor it?
Yes, that's the thing that we're trying to do. How do I factor?
You do distribute?
Those two things mean the opposite of each other. If you say distribute, then you're multiplying. If you say factor, you're dividing. So remember what I did first. I did what?
Oh, you did A, B, and C.
Good. So A is equal to what?
1,
B is equal to what?
2,
C is equal to what?
-3.
Awesome. Now what did I do?
I don't remember.
A times C, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what are those numbers?
1 and -3.
Well, now, is it going to be a -3? What do those straight up lines mean? They say absolute value. What's the absolute value of -3?
Positive
Yes. So 1 times 3 is what?
3.
Now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
All right, when you get on these Zooms, are you taking notes or are you just watching?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? I gave you two choices.
I take notes in my head.
Oh, yeah. That's not taking notes. All right. So you want to list the factors. Always start with what number?
3.
Always start with
The greatest common factor.
always start with 1. So 1 times what gets you to 3?
3.
Good. So then I would go to 2, but does 2 go into 3 evenly?
No.
No. So, and then I would go to 3, but 3 is where?
It's already up there.
It's already up there. So do we do duplicates?
No.
No. All right. So I got 1 times 3. Now I need to know something. C is what kind of number? Positive or negative?
Positive.
Look again.
Oh, you mean it's -3.
Good. So it's a negative number, right?
Mm-hmm.
The B is what kind of number? Positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. So when C is negative and B is positive, they have to, in order to multiply and get a negative number, I know I'm going to have a positive and a negative. But B is positive. So the bigger number is going to be what sign? Positive or negative?
B? Wait, can you repeat that?
So remember I did the graphic organizer? There it is. C is what?
Positive.
C is what?
A negative?
Negative. It's -3.
Why do you have 2 arrows there?
All right, let me redraw the graphic organizer. I was explaining it. So here's C. C can be positive or negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that's not erasing. Erase. There we go. B can also be what?
Positive or negative?
Positive or negative. We know our answers are always going to be binomials times together, the product of 2 binomials. Now, if C is positive, in order to multiply and get a positive number, it has to be positive, positive, or it could be negative, negative. And notice that if I add a positive and positive, I'll get a positive B. If I add a negative, negative, I'll get a negative B. If C is negative, I have to multiply a positive and a negative. Now, the bigger number, if I want B to be positive, has to be positive. The smaller number has to be negative. If B is negative, then the bigger number has to be negative, and the smaller number has to be positive. So here we go. This column right here are all your small numbers. And this column right here are all your big numbers. So now C is negative, B is positive. Which one are you going to choose?
The negative and the positive one.
So here's negative. Here's positive. So which one are you going to choose?
The one next to the positive positive.
This one here, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I know that the smaller number is going to be negative. The bigger number is going to be positive. So let's add them up. What's -1 plus 3?
3.
That's the same thing as saying 3.
Oh, plus. I'm thinking multiplication again. 2.
2. Does that equal out to B?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So you know that -1 and +3 are the factors you're going to use for your answer. So remember, here comes those parentheses. The first term is always what letter?
X.
Then I fill in the second term with what?
With the number.
And what's that number?
-1 and +3.
Good. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's your answer right there. That's the factored form. This is the factored form of that equation. Are you good on that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good job. So here we go. Let's go with Deandra. If you would unmute. There.
Hi.
Deandra,
What's up?
what's up?
I'm eating.
Awesome. While you're eating, pick a number.
Between what?
It's on the screen. Pick a number, your problem that you're going to do.
Let's go with 20.
All right, let's go with 20. There we go. So we got -2x and -35. So x squared, -2x, -35. How do I do it?
Yeah, about that. I'm pretty dumb.
Nope. Don't want to hear it. You were able to answer questions the other day. That proves that you are smart. So let's move on.
Okay. What was it? A equals 1, B equals -2, and C equals -35.
Awesome job. So now we're going to factor it. And what do I have to do?
Multiply 1 and -35.
Good. But am I multiplying 1 and -35?
No,
What am I multiplying? 1 times what?
35.
35, right? Not the -35.
Yeah.
So here we go. Now I do what?
List the thingies.
Factors. Say the word factor.
Factors. I'll still say thingies because I still don't know. Anyway, it's gonna be 1 times 35.
Does 2 work?
No,
No. 3 work?
no,
4?
no.
5?
Yup. 5 times 7.
6?
No.
And I already have 7, so I'm done, right?
Yep.
All right. C is what kind of number, positive or negative?
Negative.
So you already know that you have 2 choices. It's either going to be negative positive or positive negative, correct?
Yep.
B is what kind of number?
B is a negative number.
So which one are you going to choose? The first one or the second one?
Second one.
Good. Because if B is negative, the second one has to be negative. So therefore, I get negative, negative, and I put positives out here, correct?
Yep.
There we go. So now I put equal equals. We're trying to make it equal to what?
-2.
To -2. So 1 minus 35 is what?
-34.
Good. 5 minus 7.
Oh my God, it's -2.
Look at that. You are smart. I deem you and knight you smart. So now I am able to put the 2 there. What goes in the first part?
X.
X. Awesome. What goes in the second part?
+5 and -7.
And are you done?
Yes.
Yay! Deandra. You did it. You did it. You did it. Oh, let's see. My man. If I could unmute you. There you go. Oh, Lesky. How you
I'm
doing?
Alexi.
Oh, Les, you know I say the same thing you say, and you correct me every time, but we're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. You get to choose a problem. Do you understand this?
Honestly, no.
Okay. So let's make it happen. Let's see if we can get this done. I'm going to choose one for you. We're going to choose number 24. So we got -1, -20. Here we go. I got x squared, -x, -20. The first thing we have to do, let's see, is to make sure that we label A, B, and C. What is the number for A?
1.
1. Awesome. Excuse me.
Bless you.
B is equal to what?
Also 1.
Not 1, but a
-1.
-1. Yay. And C is equal to what?
-20.
-20. That's a good job. Somebody's might be asking a question. No, DeAndre just being silly. And Aaliyah, if you can't hear me, log out, log in. So now, here we go. A1, B is -1, C is -20. So we are going to do this. We're going to multiply the absolute value of A and C. And what is the absolute value of A?
I don't remember.
What's A?
A is 1.
And the absolute value is always the positive version of the number. So that would be what?
1.
1. There you go.
Yay.
What is the absolute value of C?
Also -1. No, I guess. I guess it's 1 also.
C is equal to what?
-1.
That's what C says. It's on the screen. What is C equal to?
Oh, -20.
So what's the absolute value of -20?
20.
Yay. What is 1 times 20?
20.
Huh?
The same thing, 20.
20.
Nothing changed. 20.
Nothing changed. 20. So now we're going to do something called a factor list. Not factor tree, but a factor list. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
For 1 second, let me make sure that Darling's able to get in. Okay. Yay, Darling, Darling, Darling. Here she is. All right. Darling. Darling. Hi. Gracias. Buenos dias. I'll put you on mute. Me and O are solving problems. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Oh boy. He always disappears. Where'd he go? Alexi.
Yay.
Goodness gracious. Here we go. Factor list. Always start with what number?
The highest one?
Nope. The lowest one, which is 1. So 1 times what gets me to 20?
1.
1 times what gets me to 20?
20.
20. Does 2 go into 20?
No.
2 doesn't go into 20?
No, exactly.
2 does not multiply by any number and equal 20.
Yay, that's impossible.
All right. So, in order for us to get this done, because I know you're smart. You got to be able to answer these questions so these kids don't get confused. Does that make sense?
Okay. Sorry.
2 times what gets me to 20?
I guess that's 10.
Good. Does 3 go into 20?
No?
4?
Yeah.
4 times what?
5.
Good. And am I done?
No.
I would be, because I would go to 5 next, but where's 5?
On the top.
It's already on the right side, so I don't want duplicates. So I am done. I'm officially done, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the part that is the learning part that you have to know, and I've done this graphic organizer now for a little bit, twice now. So C is what kind of number?
Negative.
And B is what kind of number?
Positive. Oh, sorry, negative.
Negative.
I'm just
So if C is negative, you have 2 choices. It's either going to be a negative and a positive or a positive and a negative. Now, the bigger number would be positive or negative, depending upon which one you choose. So I look at the B. The B is what?
negative.
Therefore, which one am I going to choose? The first one or the second one?
The second one.
Yay. So that means that the bigger numbers, this column, are going to be negative. And then the smaller numbers, which is this column, are going to be what? Oh,
Positive.
good. And now I'm able to do what?
Subtract.
I subtract or add them up, either way you look at it. And I'm looking to make sure that they equal to B. So 1 minus 20 is what?
It could be 19.
It's not 19.
Negative 19.
There you go. 2 minus 10.
Negative 8.
And 4 minus 5.
Positive 1. Just 1.
4 minus 5?
Oh, negative 1.
Negative 1. Which one works?
Oh, the first one.
The third one?
Yay.
Good. So now I can write it in factored form. So what goes in the first term? What letter?
I don't know.
What letter?
A. X. Okay.
Awesome. And then we put what in for the second term?
Numbers.
And those numbers are?
Positive 4 and negative 5.
Good. And are you done?
That's my factor, right?
Thank you.
Yay! I did it.
Wow. Okay. I went through everybody. Everybody got a turn. All right. So let's open up. Anybody have any questions on this section?
Nah.
No, I think I got it.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the next section. 16.3, factoring. Now, here's the thing. We're solving a quadratic. Okay. We're going to solve these equations by factoring.
Well, I want to do it.
Well, let me do it first. We're going to set it equal to 0. And what are we finding? And I talked about this yesterday because I like to go ahead because you need to put it all together. I don't want you thinking that, hey, you're just moving numbers around to move numbers around. So if we have a quadratic, that means we have a parabola. And it could look like this or like this. Okay? Now, if we have a graph, we know that we have a y-axis and an x-axis. Whenever we solve quadratics and we set it equal to 0, we're really setting y equal to 0, which means we're at the x-axis, which is going to give us the what? X-intercepts. Okay? Now, here is the thing you need to know. You will get a parabola that might be up here. It doesn't cross the x-axis, so you will get no answers. You'll have another quadratic And it might go like this. It touches the x-axis in exactly one place. And then you can have a quadratic that does this, and it will touch the quadratic in 2 places. So you have 3 different options, okay? It could give you nothing, it could give you 1, or it could give you 2. And when I say give you 2, we're talking about answers. And our answers can be written in coordinate pair, okay? Y will always be what? 0, because we're talking about
X and
intercept,
stuff.
okay? So now, number 2, I'm gonna do this right here. So I have 3x squared minus 4x equals 6x minus 3. So the first thing you want to do is get everything on one side. All right. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to put everything on the left-hand side. So I need this to go to 0. So 6x minus 6x, that goes to 0. But what I do to one side, I must
Do to the other. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So I get 3x squared. Negative 4x minus 4x minus 6x is negative 10x. All right. Now, remember, this still says equal negative 3. So I'm now going to add 3 because that makes it go to 0. But I need to do it on the other side. So I get 3x squared minus 10x plus 3 equals 0.
Yeah.
0 is important. You need to know that that 0 is on the other side. So here we go. I need to factor this, okay? I need to factor it. But the last one, this one, 15.2, that was when A is equal to 1. Is A equal to 1 anymore?
No.
Nope. So now we have to go to our second technique for factoring. Okay. When A is not 1, you're going to factor by grouping. And I'll show you what that means. Okay. So A is equal to 3. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
B is equal to negative 10.
Mm-hmm.
C is equal to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do nothing different at the beginning. It's still A times C, and it's the absolute value. So I get 3 times 3, correct?
Mm-hmm.
3 times 3 is 9. I still do a factor list. All right? A factor list. I start with number 1. 1 times what gets me to 9?
1. 9.
Yay. Does 2 go into 9?
No, 3 times 3.
There you go. 3 times 3. And am I done?
Yeah.
Yes. C is what kind of number?
Positive.
And B is what kind of number?
Negative.
Oops. Yeah. B is negative. So remember, if C is positive, I'm either going to have a positive, positive, or negative, negative. So since B is negative, which one are we going to use?
The bottom one.
The bottom one, negative, negative. So both of these are going to be negative. And I want them to equal B, which is negative 10. Negative 1 minus 9 is what?
10. Negative 10.
Negative 10. Negative 3, negative 3?
0.
No.
No. Freaking 6.
Negative 6. Which one works?
The first one.
So now, this is where, has anything changed from when A is equal to 1?
No.
No. Now we're dealing with A is greater than 1, okay? Here's the extra step. We want to rewrite the equation. and watch what happens. I have 3x squared minus 10x plus 3. I do not want to write it that way anymore. I want to write it like this, 3x squared. Now, we just said -1, -9. I am going to use that. So I put -1x minus 9x plus 3. Now look at this. Here's -1x. Here's -9x. -1x and -9x are equal to what?
-10.
Do you see how we did that? So
Yeah.
we have -1, -9. That's equal to 10. I'm just rewriting it. And now I have 2 different terms representing our 1. Our
You just
middle.
plug it in.
Yep. That's all you have to do. So you have to rewrite it because this is how we do the grouping. We group the first 2, the second 2, and make sure we keep our what? Plus sign there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And now we factor each one separately. So I have 3x squared minus x or 1x, either one, doesn't matter. And let's just do it. Remember how we do this? We put in parentheses. What is the GCF of 3 and -1? There's no GCF of 3 and -1, so there's nothing there. But I have x squared and I have x to the first power. So what can I pull out? I can pull out an x to the 1 because there's at least one x on that side too, correct? And what do I do with my GCF? I divide each term. So I divide this side by x, I divide this side by x. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. X squared divided by x to the first power is x. Bring down the minus sign. X divided by x is just 1. Now, don't forget this plus sign. Bring that down. Plus. And now we come over here and do the opposite. So -9x plus 3. Okay. Put it in parentheses. Put your blank parentheses and pull out a GCF. So I look at -9 and 3. What is the GCF of that? It's going to be -3. It could be 3 or it could be -3. Now, pay attention. I'll explain why I chose -3 over the +3. There's an X here, but no X here. So can I pull out an X?
No.
No, because there's not an X in both terms. So I'm going to divide by what? -3.
9. Oh.
-3. Here's my GCF. I always divide by my GCF. So here we go. -9 divided by -3 is a
3.
+3. Bring down the X. +3 divided by -3 is a -1. Now pay attention to this. Here's 3x minus 1. Here's 3x minus 1. Imagine, I'm going to do another problem over here, -9x plus 3. I put in parentheses, put my parentheses. Let's say I pulled out a +3. If I pull out +3, I divide by 3. -9 divided by 3 is a -3. X. 3 divided by 3 is a +1. Would these two have matched? That is a no. They're not the same. But by dividing by this -3, which is the same, I could use a positive or a negative, I actually get a match. So now my equation reads, if y'all can see this, it reads x times 3x minus 1 plus -3 times 3x minus 1. And I have 2 terms. What do you see in each term that's exactly alike? Great answers. Awesome. Love it. So put parentheses put my empty parentheses, I see a 3x minus 1 on both sides. That is my new GCF. And what do I do with my GCF? I divide each term by my GCF. So this divided by this is 1. Like 4 divided by 4 is 1. 2,000 divided by 2,000 is 1. So when I divide it by the same thing, they cancel out. What's left? X. What's left? Plus a -3, which is a positive times a negative, is just a negative. So my answer is 3x minus 1 times x minus 3. And that's my answer. So this is where we at? Factor by grouping. Okay, so we started here. A was bigger than 1. We did everything like we normally do. A times C, we get the factor tree, and then we figure out the factors are going to be negative, negative. And because A is greater than 1, we have to rewrite the equation. And when we rewrite the equation, we take the factors that we said they were going to be and just rewrite it. And then we group them. So we do the first two, the last two, make sure you have your plus sign. Now we just factor each one separately. And when you factor each one separately, you have to get your GCF, multiply by that, get your GCF, multiply by that. And these two things that are in the parentheses, the two binomials, they have to be the same. So that means your GCF could be positive or it could be negative, depending upon what's going to make the binomial inside the parentheses exactly the same. And once they're the same, we have two terms, we pull it out. So this is our new GCF. This is the second time we factor. Really the third. We factored here. We factored this. And once we got that factor, we did it again.
Lee aquí, ve. Si su nombre está en la lista, contácteme. ¿Verdad? Mira, mira esto,
And then
Lorena.
we have that.
English, por favor.
Ajá.
She's talking to somebody else.
Martita no está haciendo nada.
Okay. So now, this is when A is greater than 1. Okay? If A was 1, we wouldn't have to go through the rewrite. But since A is greater than 1, we have to do grouping. Okay?
There is.
All right. So here we go. Aaliyah.
There is. No, that is too much work.
It's not too much. This is your class. You need to be able to do this. So I am going to do problem number 1 with you. So that's 2x squared minus 3x, 2x minus 2. All right.
That is so hard.
So 2x squared minus 3x is equal to 2x minus 2.
Minus 2.
Is that right? Got to make sure you get it right. Yeah, minus. All right. Everything is the same once we get everything. All right, let's just do this, Aaliyah. Let's get everything on the left side. So what would I do first?
Everything over.
We want to move everything to the left side. So if this is the left side, this is the right side. How do I get the stuff on the right side over to the left? What do I do with the 2x?
You put it on both sides.
How? Remember, the laws of equality have to be there. So you can't just sit there and say, hey, put it over there. So how do I do it? This is a positive 2x. How do I make it go to 0?
Subtract it.
Subtract it. What I do to one side, I must?
Do to the other.
So I got that, right? So I get 2x squared. Negative 3x minus 2x is what?
5x.
It's 5x equals, this cancels, negative 2. How do I get that negative 2 over to the right side?
You add it to the 5.
No. add it underneath. So -2 plus 2 is 0.
Mm-hmm.
Now I make its own column, correct? Because it doesn't have a variable. Yes?
Oh yeah.
Right? So I get 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is equal to 0 now. All right. So here we go. Is a greater than 1?
No. Yeah.
What is a equal to?
2,
What's b equal to?
5, -5,
What's c equal to?
2.
Good. Is a greater than 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I know I'm going to do grouping. Okay. So here we go. Always do the same thing. A times C, absolute value. What is A?
2,
What's C?
2,
What's my answer?
4,
Good. Now I do my list. Start with what number?
1,
1 times what gets me to 4?
4,
2 times what?
2.
I'm done, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now B is equal to -5. C is what kind of number?
Positive,
B is what kind of number?
negative,
I have positive, positive. I have negative, negative. Which one are you going to choose?
the bottom one.
Good. So negative, 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 negative. -1, -4 gets me to what?
-5,
Good. -2, -2?
-4,
Good. Which
-1.
one works?
The top one.
So I circle it, okay? Now, this is where Lord. Leah, you broke the machine. So here we go.
Nobody told you to work it so hard.
So we got negative, negative. We said this is -5, so that works. Okay? So here we go. This is where it gets different. We have to do a rewrite. Say rewrite.
Rewrite.
What are we going to rewrite?
Oh my god.
What are we going to
Rewrite.
Alexi,
Yay.
this is being recorded, so you cannot sit there and interrupt like that.
Okay, sorry.
So now, Aaliyah, what are we going to do?
You're gonna rewrite the equation.
All right. So the equation says what?
2x squared minus 5x plus 2 equals 0.
Good. How am I going to rewrite it?
You're gonna plug in the -1 minus 4 into the
Good. So I get -1 what?
minus x
Minus what?
4.
X. Don't forget the X. The X's are very important. Okay. And then what do I put on the end?
2.
Plus 2 equals 0. Good. So now, parentheses, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to put in between those parentheses?
A plus sign.
Plus sign. Don't forget that. Plus sign. And now I just got to what? I got to factor this side. I got to factor this side. And then I'll add them back together. So here we go. I got 2x squared minus x. Put it in parentheses. Drop your parentheses. The GCF goes out to the left. 2 and 1, -1. There's no GCF of 2 and -1 because it's all the same. But I have x's. I have an x here and an x here. Which one has the lowest power?
X.
No, yes, x. It has 1. So I know I can at least pull out 1x, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So now I divide by my GCF. This is my GCF. So I divide by x. I divide by x. So 2 divided by 1 is what?
2.
Good. X squared divided by x is what?
X.
Good. Bring down the minus sign. X divided by x is what?
X.
Mm-mm. What's 4 divided by 4?
1.
1.
So we got 2x minus 1, correct? Bring
Mhm.
down our plus
Plus
sign.
1.
Don't forget that, okay? And now I got negative 4x plus 2. I already have a clue of what I'm looking for because I already did one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Put my empty parentheses. What is going to be my GCF?
2.
It can be 2. So let's take a peek at it. Let's see. 2. Here's an x. Here's an x. There's no x on this side. So can I pull out an x on both terms?
No.
No. So I divide by my GCF, which you said was 2. What's negative 4 divided by 2?
2.
Negative 4.
Negative 2. What?
It would be negative 2, correct?
No.
So now, immediately, if I look over here, is this one negative?
No.
No. So I know I should do what?
Make that one negative.
Yep. So now my GCF is negative. So negative 4 divided by negative 2 is what?
2.
2. Do they match now?
Yeah.
There you go. X comes down, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Positive 2 divided by a negative 2 is what?
Negative 2.
Negative what?
1. Negative 1. Mark.
Negative 1. Now you see both of them match, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just rewrite this just so you can see it. X times 2x minus 1 plus negative 2 times 2x minus 1. How many terms do we have?
2.
2. What's the same in both terms?
2x negative 1.
There you go. So we're going to factor again. Same way we just did. Factor, put my empty parentheses. My GCF comes out to the left. What's the same in both terms?
2x minus 1.
So that comes out here. That's my GCF. And what do I do with my GCF?
Mm-hmm.
Come on. We just did it 3 times.
Oh, you plug it in the parentheses?
I plug it in, but what am I putting? I'm putting a line under here. I have to what?
Divide it.
Divide. Factor means divide. Say factor means divide. Leah.
Factor means divide.
There you go. So 2x, 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 2x. They all become 1. So what's left?
The x.
Plus, and it would be plus a negative 2, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But a positive and a negative is what?
A negative.
Good. So x minus 2. Now, remember, it was still equal to 0, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So up here, it says equal to 0. Remember yesterday and today, we sat there and said solve it. So what should I do? 2x minus 1 is equal to what?
0.
And then x minus 2 is equal to what?
0.
Good. Let's solve for x. Plus 1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing the 4 steps now, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do now?
Divide.
By?
2.
So x is equal to what?
1 over 2.
What about here? What should I do on this other side?
Plug positive 2 on the 0.
So x is equal to what?
2.
2. I get 2 answers. So x is equal to 1/2. X is equal to 2. These are my answers. If I want the coordinate pair, this is an extra step. This has nothing to do with the problems that they're doing. Y is always equal to what?
0.
0. So this first x is equal to what?
1/2.
And the second x is equal to what?
2.
Couldn't you graph those 2 coordinate pairs?
Yeah.
Yay, Aaliyah. Yay. All right, let me open this up. Everybody. I know that's a lot because you have to pay attention to the order in chapter 15. You have to be able to factor. You have to be able to factor by grouping. So when A is bigger than 1, there's a couple of extra steps. I've done videos on them. I guess that's a reverb. So A has if A is bigger than 1, you have to do a rewrite of the equation, then do the grouping, then factor them, make sure that they have a binomial that's the same on both sides, then factor the binomial out. And then if they want you to solve the quadratic, it's already set equal to 0. Set both binomials equal to 0, solve for x using the 4 steps, and voila, you have your answer. Any questions?
Yeah, I think you since it's like I only have like 3-4 weeks left, you should just pass me and you'll never see me again, It's my last year.
Aww. If I pass you, I would be doing you a disservice if you didn't know the information.
Ooh. It's not needed in real life.
It's not needed in real life?
No, unless you're gonna be a math teacher, then yeah.
No. Think about this. Where do you want to be?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm gonna do nursing.
What do you want to be? And the question is, I don't know. So if you don't explore different subject matters, how are you ever going to know what you want to be?
I know it's not math for a fact.
Well, you never know. If you want to, let's say beauty was in your wheelhouse and you wanted to do, I don't know, you wanted to make sure that you were doing hairstyles, or you wanted to, what is it called? Esthetician, stuff like that. You have to know how to mix that stuff. You have to know what is the perfect ratios. You have to know what is balance. It's all equality. Not everybody's face is exactly the same on the right and left side. And you need to know how to balance that. And how are you going to know that? That's right. Math, baby. Math.
Okay, but A plus B plus C has nothing to do with that.
Well, you might not call it A plus B, but remember, A plus B plus C, they're variables. They're interchangeable. They're placeholders. So you could use, say, oh, this is red, this is blue, and this is green. And then you would use those as your placeholder. But either way, math affects every single career out there.
Math was easy until they added the alphabet to it.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. But that was just a clever way of saying, hey,
No, there was no need to add the alphabet
No
to
empiezas a
it.
llorar estresada porque tienes malas notas. O sea, marico, es que yo no puedo.
Can you mute her?
So tell me this, are there any questions?
Why
Does
does
anybody have any
why does-
questions?
why does math have alphabet?
Recuerda que las primeras semanas yo
They're
me iba a poner a hacer
placeholders.
TikToks.
What?
They're placeholders.
Okay.
Cuando los estaba grabando.
No, seriously, Mr. Harris.
Estresada porque sabía que no
But
había
now,
hecho
any other
nada.
questions about the
Me
math?
sentía muy mal porque estaba haciendo TikToks, sabiendo
I'm
que tenía
telling
malas
you,
notas. Y yo,
somebody's talking in Spanish and I can't.
¿quieres verdad?
Come on now.
Yes?
Darling,
Diga.
por favor, estamos tratando de preguntarle a Mr. Harris. ¿Se puede? Okay, there we go.
That is so comical. I miss y'all. I know y'all miss me.
Of course, I miss bullying you, bro.
Oh, that's tough.
So, either way, if there's no more questions, make sure you're getting your work done. There is a quiz this week. It's been up. And just make sure that you're on. Oh, it's 11:01. I got to get to my next Zoom, and I will talk to y'all later, okay?
Have fun, sunshine.
Bye.
Yay.
Oleski. You know I can't. Yo, I'm not gonna sit around and be fat, bro. No, I refuse.
I got you. I feel you. I feel the same way. Got to keep your body moving.
For real.
All right. So,
Waking up so early like this, Mr. Harris.
hey, that's why I'm trying to make it interesting. We got to play a little music, little flow rider to get you started. Here we go.
Ooh,
It's
Yes.
9 o'clock in the morning.
That's
It is ridiculous.
not, yeah, you gotta have energy. You come with energy all the time. So,
I mean, not as much as energy as I have, but just
I mean,
you have energy.
you just ran 5 miles, trying to get that COVID-19 going. So, either way, here is the website calendar today. We are 29th. So 15.2 and 16.3. Now we already did, as you can see, 15.2, but I'm gonna go over it again just to make sure that we have it. We did 16.2 twice, so now we're moving on to 16.3. So let's go to our